Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Fuel Arts webinars, where we blend creativity, technology, and venture capital. I'm Denis Belkovich, co-founder and general partner at Fuel Arts. And joining me today is Elena Yara, our head of digital marketing at Fuel Arts. Hi, Elena.
Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here today.
Thank you. So today we're excited to launch the so-called Swiss series dedicated to the dynamic Swiss creative tech ecosystem and, of course, its main enablers. Over the next 2 months, you'll have the opportunity to learn more about Switzerland through its entrepreneurs and investors. And this series is made possible thanks to the partnership between Fuel Arts and the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies at the Zurich University of the Arts. Together, we're committed to refining educational approaches, integrating innovative business models, and exploring a wealth of initiatives designed to foster growth and innovation of amazing creative tech scene in Switzerland. So, as you may know, our first endeavor will be the Swiss Creative Tech Report, to be published in June in several weeks. So this report will showcase educational initiatives, venture support, and partnership opportunities across the 26 cantons of Switzerland. We have the permission to show you several pages from it. It will be a blast as always. And our designer is super excited in working with this. You can see here the top influencers from the creative tech industry. We can't disclose the numbers so far, but the report will be very bright and depict all the known Swiss symbols of creativity and innovation. So, and today we're thrilled to begin our conversation with the key figure behind this report and behind the Swiss creative education and research community. So we're happy to invite Professor Christoph Weckerle, the director of the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies at Zurich University of the Arts. Christoph is a member of executive boards of European League of Institutes of the Arts and the advisory board, education and discourses at Goethe Institute. Also, Christoph was awarded with the Swiss Design Prize for his research in creative economies. We're happy to collaborate with you, Christoph. Hi, and thank you for joining, for starting this series of webinars.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a very great pleasure to work with Fuel Arts on the topic of creative tech. Thank you.
Thank you, Christoph. We can say in return that we are learning a lot from you, from your colleagues from the center that you represent and lead. We learn that during the process of working with this report, and again in a month we'll be happy to share the result of this extensive work. This will be the best report Fuel Arts has published so far, we believe. So let's focus on our today's questions. The title of the webinars of this particular webinar says that we should speak about the education system. So let's begin by discussing the mission of the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies. In particular, what motivated the decision to establish this institution at the Zurich University of the Arts?
Yeah, thank you. That's an interesting question. And I think that I can say that the history of our center is closely linked to the development of the creative economies in Switzerland. It all started in the 1990s, I would say, with a collaboration between researchers from Zurich, Cologne, and Vienna, the German-speaking part of Europe. And our goal was to understand the cultural sector as a whole, not just the publicly funded part, which was the focus in continental Europe at the time, but also the part driven by the private sector. During that time, we analyzed public spending on culture and made calculations about the cultural economy. I can say that we were repeatedly criticized for promoting the so-called economization of culture. But our main focus was and still is to understand the job markets of our students. And for many years, we presented analysis and reports. The cultural industry became the cultural and creative industry, and finally the creative industries. And by the 2000s, a lot had changed in terms of content and content. And in Europe, we now no longer speak of the economization of culture, but rather of the culturalization of the economy. Then in the history of our center, a next important phase came in the mid-2010s, I would say, when we started work more closely with the University of St. Gallen, the RISE Management Innovation Lab, and ETH, Federal Institute of Technology, the Critical Thinking Initiative. We became more and more interested in this constellation in the practices and processes of creative actors, not only from the cultural sector, but also from other fields. We also started to talk about value creation. What does it mean for a biotech researcher to be creative? What processes happens in a laboratory and are comparable to those in a designer studio? What types of value creation occur in the cultural sector and between it and other sectors? At this point, I can say the term of creative industries was no longer useful for us, and since all industry can be creative, hence our label Creative Economies in the plural. And then finally, in 2019, thanks to the generous support of the Cantonal Bank of Zurich, we were able to establish the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies, the ZCCE, and deepen and broaden our activities. Since then, our mission has been organized on 3 levels. We are first a resource for the Zurich University of the Arts when it comes to analyzing the future job markets of our students. We are secondly the National Competence Center for the Cultural Sector in Switzerland. And thirdly, we are a partner in international networks. And seen in this light, Dennis, I would say that the collaboration with Fuel Arts is just the next piece in the mosaic of the cultural sector and its interfaces for ZCCE.
Thank you so much. And we've been following for a while your work, and we know that Zurich Centre for Creative Economies also publishes its Creative Industries report. And so can you please tell us a little bit more about it, and why do you consider the research being crucial for any progress in field?
Yes. Well, on the one hand, we are located at the university, so research is a main driver for everything we do. But more specifically, publishing reports, especially building models, is a way we like to think in our team and with other people. If I go back in the history, we have hung our models on walls around the world and discussed them with other researchers and practitioners in London, in Hong Kong. And for such models to work across disciplines and internationally, they have to be reduced and convincing. But when they work, this is our experience at least, they can even be more efficient than scientific texts. But to your question, we see research in our center as a field of action in the creative economies that enables describing and interpreting key dynamics, practices, strategies, and transformations. And I can say that several aspects are central to our research concepts, which perhaps is a research concept quite typically for an arts university. So we see first research as a process of creation. Developing different models helps reveal interconnections. We look for perspectives that challenge established ideas. We develop new methods, alternative approaches, and laboratories for experiments. And we create platforms that enable controversial debates. So creation, not only writing scientific papers. Then we would say that research takes place at ZCCE in the area in between already established positions and risky projects. In our eyes, research must look at controversial, uncertain, and complex issues. We want to find new links between creativity and economic models. We look at both the small and large picture. We use both quantitative and qualitative approaches, and we combine proven and experimental methods. So it's neither the one nor the other, it's in between. And a consequence out of this is that doing research for us means constantly evolving research practices. It's about doing research because our work is based on different research practices. We use mappings, we create models, as I said before. We test our ideas with people on the ground, artists, designers, our students. We work on case studies. We do experimental statistics. We create new ideas and words, languages, even to describe the creative economy. Thus, our approach is always changing because we challenge ideas and test new models. I would also say that we practice different forms of knowledge. So the research approach of Zurich Centre for Creative Economies prevents a single dominant form of scientific knowledge. Instead, we move between multiple and quite often heterogeneous forms of knowledge. Because we know that some relationships can best be illustrated by time series, others by outstanding examples. Then sometimes we conduct debates on stage. The Swiss report with fuel arts is another form of knowledge we have been working on now for the next couple of months. And to finish, I would say that we try to run our center by practicing these research principles just mentioned. It's kind of self-application. And these practicing these methods keeps us young and fascinate us and helps us in our research. So just to sum up, it's not a traditional, very academic, it's also, but we try to be broader in our spectrum. And this might be due to the fact that around us we have 2,500 art students and we live in this ecosystem of the arts and design.
Thank you, Christoph. Your reports, they inspired Fuel Arts to establish our own art and tech reports back in 2022. So when we realized that we'll have an opportunity to collaborate with you in particular and with your center, we understood that would be a great responsibility because you have been doing a fantastic job, and we're happy that we could contribute something. And again, learning from you. But we have very interesting comments and even takeaways. So big friend of Fuel Arts, Olu, an international best-selling author, enterprise developing specialist, keynote speaker, and communication expert, also expert in creative economy of African countries. So she has started making notes. As a keynote speaker, she knows that notes are key. So takeaway one, challenge ideas and test new models. So that's what she will be delivering to her students after our webinar. So it will it has already started delivering some use cases and some profit to people. I love the keep us young aspect, as this is all that creativity does to you. Thank you, Olu. Looking forward to the new insights from you, and from my side, I should admit, yes, you are. Christoph, you are happy that you have the opportunity to combine research and education work, to test your research ideas at the audience, and to receive feedback and to make it a continuous process. So let's get back to our questions. Could you please share some of the notable advancements you've observed in Switzerland's creative educational ecosystem, and particularly in relation to entrepreneurship? Because we know that your center does a lot to merge art, tech, and entrepreneurship.
Yes, well, that's an interesting topic because it's rather young in Switzerland. This might be due to the fact that in the cultural sector in Switzerland there is a lot of public money. And if I compare Switzerland to the UK, for example, where they cut budgets in the public sector, there was earlier a larger need for entrepreneuring approaches. But if I try to sum up, then I would say that in the 1990s and early 2000s, people started talking about cultural management. In continental Europe, it came from Austria, from Germany. The goal of cultural management was to professionalize the cultural sector by applying management methods, mainly through transfer from one field to another. But since then, things have changed a lot, and all the art and design universities in Switzerland offer now specific programs in entrepreneurship. Quite often we talk about entrepreneuring because we want to stress that it's an attitude, that it's an ongoing process from the very start of a project until the end. And these programs of entrepreneurship, you can see them, for example, clearly at the moment in Geneva, where quite a convincing structure will be created with the University of the Arts in Geneva and the private foundation, the Plaza Foundation, or you would see it at Zurich University of the Arts, where we have our own incubator, the ZHdK. I would say that in Switzerland, entrepreneurship, education, entrepreneuring is more and more implemented as a transversal field and less discipline specific. The reason for this is that it should definitely be possible for musicians to meet designers and for dancers to work with artists. So it's about bringing disciplines together and not separating them by very specific incubator constellation. And what I observe more and more is that these formats, entrepreneuring, coaching formats, are sometimes interwoven with the arts universities on various levels. It's not about building separate infrastructures and standalone formats. In Zurich, for example, the entire Zurich University of the Arts it's a place where literally you have all the arts disciplines under one roof. The whole university functions as an experimental setting. So I would say the whole university is kind of an incubator. And what we offer our students mainly is coaches, people who are in the right place at the right time, giving support. And I think these are quite promising starting points, but just starting points, I would say.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And if we move from advancements, what, in your opinion, are current gaps that you see in Swiss educational ecosystem, and maybe at the same time you see some ways you can overcome these gaps?
Yeah, what I just described are, as I said, starting points, but I'm convinced that much more would be possible in Switzerland, because we have excellent technical and business universities. And we know that Switzerland has some leading art schools. If you come to Switzerland, we just had a group of students from Indiana University here with Joanna Voronkovic, quite a renowned researcher. They realized that geographically everything is in a very compact space. But what they also observed, the students from the US, is that it's not yet possible in this country to combine these three areas of expertise: entrepreneurship, creativity, and technology. It's quite often still in separated silos. So we still have to find a way that allows Switzerland to benefit from each other's strengths. It's easy to explain why this does not happen in this country. It's has to do with autonomy of the universities, with its federalist structures. But I think that one could say that it's kind of a missed opportunity, because we could do much better. And this would benefit students from different types of universities, the companies that employ the students, and Switzerland as an innovation hub as a whole. And I have to say, Dennis and Olena, that I see the report and the approach which brings together different segments such as technology, investment, creativity, is kind of a first step in this direction when it comes to breaking silos. And what I also should say is that Switzerland can be much better when it comes to the shift from STEM to STEAM. Science, technology, the A for art should be much more than just a simple add-on to STEM. And there in Europe, we have these interesting programs such as New European Bauhaus, which are kind of interesting showcases where Switzerland can learn a lot. So there is still a way to go, but I would say that we are on track.
Thank you, Christoph, for your insightful reply. I should say that I should disclose at least one fact from the report. Those who will download it in several weeks, so we'll have the opportunity to see firsthand the first announced. I mean, the first attempt to make the term, to define the term of creative tech, made by Christoph and his team and the Fuel Arts team. So there are several terms from the creative tech industry that we were happy to either to improve or to create from the very beginning, that needed some academic approach, and that approach was based on the history of the development of the terms in the creative industry. So that was really fantastic job, not only from research part, but also from the academic part, because we're creating something. As Christoph said, yes, the process of research starts from creation. And your reply on Olena's question had to shift us to another question regarding the governmental support, but Olu was the first who mentioned that. So she says, yes, a synergy between government, academia, and private sector. And she commends the Swiss government for appreciating, embracing the synergy that has been the founding support for creating this thriving ecosystem. Nevertheless, I have to, let's say, me and Olu all together, we're asking you, Christoph. So as soon as Switzerland is well known for its effective government-private partnerships, so could you please specify and provide some examples of that successful collaborations with the educational sector, and share your thoughts on how these initiatives should evolve, because there is always room for improvement?
Yes. When I get back to the students from Indiana University, they had half a day introduction to Switzerland by me, and they had to learn that Switzerland is all about smallness, about flexibility, but it's also about language, it's about chaotic structures, it's about decentralized approaches. And so I would say that this collaboration between the different entities on different levels is be public-private partnership or other kind of partnership, is a very relevant part of Swiss politics. I would even say it's part of the DNA of this country. And the system, we call it subsidiarity. This means that we make most decisions at cantonal and city level and not at national level. It also means that public funds only flow, or quite often only flow, when the private sector can't do the job. And this often means that the public and the private sectors, that they work together. And this is quite important for research and for the arts. Just to give you an example, we have quite an interesting landscape of foundations in Switzerland. There are, there are 13,000 charitable foundations with a total asset of around 100 billion Swiss francs. And 500 million is spent each year on cultural purposes. So you have already in this quite relevant role of foundations, and then the role of the cantons, the city, the national level, there is this need for collaborations. And the key word is, or the key principle is matching funds. That is how Switzerland works. So private sponsors provide funding when public organizations also provide funding, and the other way around. And this creates an interesting dynamic. And this helps us with educational programs, with events, with infrastructures. To give you an example, the incubator we have at the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies also goes back to a classic public-private partnership. So in the mid-2000s, the Zurich University of the Arts and the private foundation launched a project that was continued by the by our university after the end of the foundation's funding phase. So I would say public-private partnerships are often important in the initial phase in order to launch a project. And I mentioned these foundations. When a foundation finances or such as the Arts Council Provezia, for example, is also a foundation, then it's also a quality label for a project. So it's on different level that there are advantage for this multiplayer system in Switzerland. But I have to say, when I talk to people from other countries in the world, there is a lot of resources in this system in Switzerland, and this allows to different players to fund the cultural sector, the research sector, the innovation sector on different streams. But it's without this multiplayer, multi-actor system, Switzerland would not be as successful as it is. And at the same time, multi-actor means sometimes chaos. So we don't like national strategies. It's all on lower levels, faster, more flexible, but sometimes it's not in line what happens.
Thank you, Christoph. Before Olena asks her question, let me share one of the comments of Olu, and that's interesting. Let me just make a brief explanation of STEM and STEAM. So, yeah, thank you, Olu, for raising that question. Christoph has pronounced STEAM and STEM. So STEM is an educational approach which incorporates science for S, technology for T, engineering for E, and math for M. So what is STEAM? It's adding letter A. It's adding art to that approach. So that is the essence of creative education. Now you know, everyone knows the terms. And yes, Olu also says, I believe a stakeholder engagement programs and forums should be initiated from the universities, the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies with the government to showcase the opportunities of creating a synergy rather than operating in silos. It may be difficult at first, but with consistency, it will be productive. That's an opinion. Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe I could add there. It's since we are surrounded a lot by the next generation, it's also giving the power to the students because their mindset is not framed by silos. And we quite often say at Zurich University of the Arts, universities have disciplines and the world has problems, and it does not match quite often. So if the next generation is able to shift this a bit and to bring the competencies of a university a bit closer to the world's problem, then we are on a good track. That's all about breaking these silos. It's hard and complicated, I know, but you have to try every day at least twice.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for sharing this too. If you are looking ahead, what would be your expectations in terms of development of Switzerland's creative tech sector, I would say in the upcoming years, and what role do you think education will play in ensuring the successful direction of the sector?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a very interesting and a very complicated question because I've learned so much in this collaboration about creative tech now. And I have to say that the topic is not that familiar in Switzerland. We have health tech and medtech and biotech and fintech a lot in Switzerland, but creative tech still to be developed. So I see quite a big potential in this intersection, which results in creative tech. But let me say that, as I already said, Switzerland has great potential, but is, in my view at least, not ready yet to take advantage of this excellent starting position for creative tech, for other fields. And I'm pretty convinced that for this to happen, Switzerland needs to see itself a bit more as a network ecosystem for technology, innovation, creativity, and investment. So again, it's about breaking some silos. It's not too complicated to imagine what such a network ecosystem could mean. Let me try to describe. I see in the most attractive location in the middle of Europe, outside the European Union, which also can be an advantage, a cluster would emerge that in terms of population, it's not even 9 million inhabitants, would be the equivalent of a medium-sized creative city elsewhere. So it's something very manageable and with excellent transport links, horizontally and vertically up to the mountains, but also from Bern to Geneva and so on. And I also see a cluster characterized by a large number of internationally outstanding initiatives and organizations. To give you an example from the north, Art Basel. We go to the south, we have the Locarno Film Festival. You go to the west, you have Geneva with its international diplomacy. You go to the east and you are in Zug with the Crypto Valley, or you are in Zurich with all its technology initiatives. So it's a cluster with a high density of internationally renowned universities, highly qualified individuals. This list could be extended indefinitely. Of course, this is, Olena, still wishful thinking, and there are many reasons why the potential of such a cluster is not currently being realized: historical, political, linguistic. But however, based on my long involvement, now it's 20 years, with the creative economy in Switzerland, I would suggest that the interface between technology, creativity, investment, that's how we define creative tech, would be a suitable field for overcoming these barriers or silos, because there are players in this field who have an international horizon and therefore appreciate the strengths of the ecosystems. And these are also players who think in interdisciplinary, even transdisciplinary way, and have open-minded understanding of innovation. So let's use creative tech as a starting point for changing the system. And what is needed in my view, because when I mentioned our research approach, I talked about that research is also about doing things. We need a joint project between creativity, technology, investment to launch kind of a first prototype of this cluster. And if you ask me what this could be, Olena, I think, for example, of a new soft power narrative for Switzerland based on the dimensions of creative tech, because this is one of the main findings of this report, which will be published soon, that Switzerland, yes, is about the mountains and the lakes and this is my cat.
And cats as well.
She is very hungry. But creative tech could be a game changer when it comes to inventing a new soft power narrative. We would need a curator who coordinates a bit these different players. And maybe the place where this could happen, I've suggested elsewhere that Switzerland needs something like an agency for risky projects. I can't imagine how this could change Switzerland, this narrative of creative tech, and a place called Agency for Risky Projects where people can start collaborating across the silos. Yeah, this is my vision. Let's see if the report between Fuel Arts and Zurich Centre for Creative Economies is the first step towards this vision.
Thank you so much, Christoph, for sharing your experience towards our audience and also during our cooperation. What's the name of your cat? Who is?
Well, my cat has several names because cats have several lives. So, but the official name is Laia.
Laia.
Yeah.
Laia reminds us about the timing of the webinar, because
I'm sorry, I have to comment on this. I have a dog. Her name is Laia too. So I don't know how it actually happened, but in Greece, if you're like translating from Greece, it means happy life. Yeah.
happy nine lives.
Yeah,
exactly.
9 lives. I can't agree more with you, Christoph, when you say that maybe the report will be the first step in that direction. We also believe that the report should also serve as the instrument for the young entrepreneurs to navigate through through those 26 cantons. Each of them has its own peculiarities, its own opportunities. And again, that was a great experience to work with you on this report. Well, I will show only 2 other takeaways from all those notes. There is a need for public-private partnership, right? And creativity plus technology plus investment. Yes, that's how we define creative tech, but you'll see more in the report. Thank you, Ole, for taking notes. Thank you for sharing your ideas. Thank you, Christoph, for being with us today, for starting this spring/summer series of the webinars devoted to Swiss creative tech ecosystem. Thanks to our audience. We have a quite large audience today. So I believe that was helpful, and we're meeting next Thursday, the same time, with another startup ecosystem enabler from the Swiss creative tech. Thank you, everyone, and see you.
Yep. Thank you. The pleasure was all mine.
Thank you so much. See you.